Our next speaker is Dr. Yaping Gao, Senior Academic Director, Member Services and Partnership Quality Matters. With a doctoral degree in curriculum and instruction and concentration on instructional design and education technology, Dr. Yaping Gao has over 25 years experience in higher education, both in China and in USA, as faculty, instructional designer, LMS administrator, and online education administrator. In her current position as a Senior Academic Director of Quality Matters USA, Dr. Gao oversees and leads member services and partnerships with a focus on international initiatives and outreach efforts. Dr. Gao earned her doctoral degree from Baylor University, Texas, USA, and her master's bachelor's degree from Shanghai International Studies University, Shanghai, China. I would really like to invite her because the topic is, I looked at it and I was like, this is something that I think anybody and everybody who is working with us here, joining us, even our team, is adopt, adapt, and apply US-based quality assurance process and accreditation guidelines to ensure academic integrity and help students succeed. But I love the starting three words: adopt, adapt, and apply. So with further ado, I'm going to give the mic over to Dr. Yaping Gao. And Dr. Yaping, welcome, and it's over to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the wonderful introduction, Dr. Ali Chahan, and I'm so happy to be here. So do I just go ahead and to share my screen, or right?
You can share your screen if you want.
Okay.
Yes, go ahead.
Let me go ahead and try that.
There you go. We have your screen. It is being shared.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much. I am in the warm and beautiful South Florida, just 30 minutes north of Miami, and we are just about 7 a.m. in the morning, so the dawn is starting, and I'm just super excited and very honored to be part of your wonderful conference. I know this is third day, and although because of the time difference, I have not been able to participate much, but I have got some feedback, and it's just so exciting to be here together, even though we're virtually. So my topic, as I said, is adopt, adapt, and apply. And on my slide, you will show, you can see I highlight the word adapt. Okay, so
yeah.
all through the conversation, bear in mind, some of the issues and topics might not be important or even relevant in your education environment. So adaptation, localization is the key. So I'm going to move forward. And Dr. Ali has already did a wonderful introduction for me. Thank you for that. And I work in Quality Matters. Yes, that's the name of the organization, called Quality Matters. And we are a nonprofit, and we actually have been working virtually like this for 18 years now. So we are very used to work and connect with colleagues all over the world, on the screen, on the phone, via Zoom right now. So I will do a little quick introduction of what does QM do. And I heard that quite a few speakers in the past 2 days have mentioned the QM. So we are research-based, and we have a set of standards for course design, and QM provides a lot of professional development, training, workshops for faculty, administrators, staff, but we are focused on online learning and in the digital technology enhanced environment. So over the past 2 months, ever since the COVID-19, all staff members, including me, myself have been extremely busy because people in the past heard about QM, but now they really feel that they need to help faculty to move into online education. And the third component of what QM does is based on our standards, based on our training. After the course has been taught, have been very well developed, and we provide course review and a course certification services. And in the past few years, we started to offer program review, program services as well. So if there's one thing that I'd love each of you to take away from today, my topic is that QM is adaptable. That means we have been guiding institutions from the very beginning, from where they are to where they want to go to ensure the quality of their online education. And just a quick map to show you who we have been serving. And we have member institutions all over the world and in 19 countries now. So I want to take this opportunity to just share how excited that we are that Hybrid Institute became the very first member institution in Pakistan, and it's so inspiring for us, and we would love to start to collaborate and help Hybrid Institute to establish leadership role, for the country and even for the region in online education, quality assurance, hybrid learning, and digital environment, etc. So thank you, and we really appreciate you. And I personally am honored to be here, to be part of this wonderful summit. So we have been talking about this over this summit, right? Traditional teaching, now we're suddenly, because of the COVID-19, we have all been doing remote instruction. But as we all know, the past few days, we've been talking about how do you design, how to do course design, online teaching pedagogy, etc., etc. Most face-to-face instructors have not got any training on that. They are the content expert, and they are the but they have not been trained on how to teach online. And if you just move content into online and think that's online course, no, it's not, right? So from here on, because the crisis is going to stay here for a while, at least for the summer and probably for the fall as well, and perhaps even into 2021, how do you really transition from teaching remotely in the emergency situation to really ensure the quality of online education, and the student, the learner need to be centered, right? Everything that we do to support the faculty is to help students succeed. So that is the goal. This is a quick slide that from the very well-known online educator, Dr. Tony Bates in Canada. In one of his recent presentation, he shows that post-COVID-19, into, from 2020 into 2025, into 2030, even if things goes back to normal in the next few months or year or so, the prediction is that faculty will keep the skills they have learned, and both faculty and the students would want to continue some kind of learning environment using technology. Maybe somewhere before the online programs, if there's a huge market demand, or some will just continue to use technology for emergency purpose. But, I always say, as a couple of weeks ago, I had a meeting with University of Management and Technology, who is our second member institution in Pakistan. I always say, teaching is a lonely business, but good teaching is always good teaching. And teaching is a calling. And I myself has never left the school, and I consider myself a teacher at heart. So if teachers feel there's something that they can do that will help students, they will do it. So during this COVID-19, all of us are learning. We're learning together, we're helping each other, and all the skills that we learn, either it's technology or online pedagogy and best practice that we are learning, we're practicing, we are going to continue as long as we feel students need it and we can help them. So if you look at the chart, it says, from 2010 in the past year, yes, the online education hybrid learning has been, moving steadily, but then 2020 is the new beginning of learning in the digital environment. So even those traditional institutions are going to move somewhat into continue to do teach and learning in the technology enhanced environment. So I want you to take a look, spend a couple of seconds and look at this graphic. And a lot of you may know this. In US, we have Angel Venture Research now, who is under Ankara. They do annual survey research on what kind of technologies are being used, are emerging, or and they put all of this into categories. So on the left, you will see these are the technologies, the companies that serve education, but they are the big enterprise backbone system, like student management information, etc., etc. Column 2 is technology systems that help institutions to manage admission, enrollment, and then the third and the fourth one is that's where teaching and learning happens with those technologies. But just look at this, okay? That is overwhelming. And face-to-face institutions, traditional face-to-face institutions are already using a lot of this, right? The technology is here, they're just in the background. We do not, constantly think about it unless something stops working, and then we say, okay, why this is not working. But if you are intending to continue online education, teaching and learning with technology, you really have to pay more attention to the infrastructure. So these are all the technology at the institutional level that's already happening. Think about that. Okay, it's overwhelming. I mean, it's exciting, it's overwhelming, but how do you, for institutions who are, just getting started, how do you even begin to choose what tools, what technologies you want to use? I also wanted to take a few seconds to just look at this, and it's called the pedagogy wheel. What this is I think it's by the Professor Alan Cunnington in Australia. He put together all the social media, all the apps that we have been using all over the world, and he put them into categories. And just because we have the technology does not mean we need to use it. Just because this is the newest technology does not mean this is the best tool for my teaching and learning. So what he did is he organized those social medias and apps, and he put them into categories, and how do you apply to teaching and the learning? It's really fascinating. Okay, they're all very good as long as you are using for the right purpose and you are using it so that you are helping your students to learn and to achieve the learning outcomes. In the US, the big organization, course, they produce annual horizon report. And so this one is forward looking. Okay, so we are just starting, well, we are already in May, so we're almost halfway, but they produce this in March, I think. So every new year, they produce a horizon report looking forward into what's going to happen in the coming year and years. And of course, it's a long report, but I thought, for our purpose, just take a look at the keywords that they're using here. So all of this, they're not new, and some are probably newer than the others. A lot of them, have been going on already, right? Competence-based, accessibility, artificial intelligence, badging, digital literacy, data privacy, etc. OER, student support, etc., etc. Just the keywords of that report can be overwhelming. All of this are somewhat relevant to what you are doing at the institutional level. So again, what is most important to you, and how do you prioritize your investment in resources? Okay, just something for you to ponder. Okay, so we need to continue online education, digital learning, but realistically with, limited funding probably coming up, and with all these technologies, all these social media, and all these big issues that we need to consider. The question is, how do we as administrators, as faculty, as staff, what can we do, okay, on a daily basis? And because in the US, North American, as well as in Europe, online education got started a bit earlier. So in the US, we have been doing online, for 20, 25 years. And that's when QM started, because there were 20 some institutions in the state of Maryland. They wanted to offer online courses, but they do not really know what does an online course, quality, good online course look like. So they band together, they did some research, and then they started a set of course design standards. So that's how QM came into being. So we are all connected, although not in person right now. But, higher education is bound to be moving towards internationalization, globalization. We all come together to share best practice, and then we take what we have learned, and then we localize it. Then we adapting everything to our own needs in our unique situations. So this topic is based on the processes, the guidelines that the US education community, and mostly I'm focusing on higher education here. So how do you adapt US process, the US guidelines, US standard to help you to move your institution forward? So these are the key questions for you to bear in mind as we move forward. So I'm going to share at 3 levels. Institutional level, what is the main framework? What are the major issues or the things that we need to have established at the institutional level? And then if you're going to offer online programs, or if you're going to offer some online courses in certain programs, what do you need to support that program? And for faculty, we teach at the course level, and you are the champion. The faculty is always the champion. You are on the ground. You are the person who's connecting and teaching your students every day. So what can you do? Okay, so at institutional level, a lot of you may be fully aware that in the in US, we have 6 or /7 regional accreditors. Depend on where your institution is, you fall under what regional accreditors. And there's a council, there's a special group, there's a council for these, it's called a Council of Regional Accrediting Commission. So their job is really to help those regional accreditors to digest and understand what federal level regulations and policies are, and then interpret them and set up standards or guidelines so that they can help the regional accreditors who are roughly in charge of like 3,000 higher education institutions in the US. Depend on what type of institution, you know, every 5 years, 8 years, or 10 years, they either have to do a self-study or midterm checking in or accreditations or re-accreditation, et cetera, et cetera. So that is what CREC stands for, Council of Regional Accreditors Commission. So I'm going to share just very quickly on the top level, the highest level. What are the guidelines for those regional accreditors? And based on these sets of standards, each regional accreditors will come up with their sets of guidelines or criteria or evidence that they will use to look for data, evidence to support the institutions when the institution going through under an accreditation or re-accreditation process. So there are altogether 9, and the top 4 is, of course, you know, the mission. And this is squarely for online education. So the guidelines are specifically for online and distance learning. And now, you know, these words are changing into technology enhanced learning, digital learning, et cetera, et cetera. So the first thing is they say, so online learning here, take the word online learning in the very big, broad definition, okay, including everything that's happening in the digital learning environment. That's what is online learning here that you can use that. So the first thing is the mission and the purpose. You know, some are private and public, and some, you know, so the focus and mission of each institution is different. So even as we move forward, you know, some institutions will never become a fully online institution. That is okay, because not everybody needs to do that. So that's the first thing. The second thing is you need to have a really very robust process for getting started, and then improving and the evaluation, and then come back to, you know, improving the process. So that's, you need to have a cycle built into your process. And the third one is governance. And as I mentioned earlier, the faculty is a key, right? No matter what fancy technology infrastructure you have and how much you know, funding you have, how strong your leadership is, leaning one way or the other, you have to have a governance body. And never forget faculty, right? Faculty. You need to get faculty involved. You need to get faculty's buy-in. So the academic process, and I know that, at least in the US, faculty senate or curriculum committee, etc., etc. These are the main faculty body, and they should be in charge of everything relating to academics. And of course, the fourth one is the curriculum. That is the meat, right? That's why students are here. They're here to learn, and that's why faculty are here, right? Faculty's role is to teach because they are the expert. So the curriculum that you are preparing or you're thinking to offer online needs to be suitable for the online format, and it needs to have a market. If you're going to change that or move the traditional program into an online format, you need to do research. You want to make sure that this curriculum will go well in the online environment. So, and then we have the number 5 is after you start off with the online program or courses, you need to be able to do an evaluation, and that needs to happen very regularly, right? Not every few years, probably every few months at the beginning, and then maybe annually or biannually. So you need to have a process to really do either a self-assessment or have somebody, some external organization to do an evaluation of the online program. And I will talk about it more in the program level in just a few minutes. And then number 6 is faculty. Again, faculty is the key. You cannot leave faculty out any of these. So how are you preparing faculty? How are you supporting faculty before and during and after teaching? And number 7, if you are provide the courses online, then you also need to, have the supporting services, and that's anywhere from enrollment, registration, to library, to testing, to pay things, etc. All the student support academic service needs to be able to do it online. The students do not have to come to campus. Number 8 is resource and the resource and the resource. Okay, online education, does take some investment at the beginning, because if the institution do not have those infrastructure, then you do need to prioritize some resources, and then you have to continue. So this again needs to have the strong support and leadership from the very top, because that's where the funding comes down. And then last but not least, at the very high level, you want to ensure the integrity. And that's probably the number 1 concern of faculty. If I'm going to teach, how am I going to make sure that there's no cheating, right? How am I going to make sure that, the students who's taken the final exam is a student who's actually registered in the class? So integrity, and I heard there's quite a few presentations over the past few years how to do proper assessment and authentic assessment, formative and summative assessment. So the traditional way of putting, half of the final grade or even more on the final exam, that way is not going to work. So faculty who are preparing to continue to teach online, you have to change your thinking of assessment. You need to assess the students and give feedback every week, every unit. So you both know that students are progressing well, and the students know by themselves that they are doing well. So you do not have to wait until the last minute. Do you have a question? Oh, okay. 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 So this topic, typically I do it in a 2-hour or even 4-hour long workshop. So this is where I would like stop and pause and ask a question to the participants. Just very quickly, you know, on the top, the 9 items or areas that we just talked about, you know, what is the most challenging for you or for your department or for your institution. And because we are in this format and you do not have all the information in front of you, so I'm just going to skip, but I do want you to, I am going to share this PowerPoint, and I do want you to start thinking, you know, as you look at how quality assurance is established in the US and with this 9 areas, what do you think is the most important, or what do you think is the most challenging, and et cetera, et cetera. So I'm going to move to program level, and we can do questions and answers at the end, I hope. So a QM, quality matters, as I mentioned, we started probably around 4 years ago. We started to offer a program review because traditionally QM started at course level. But institutions at the QM community come to us saying, now, my courses individually are very well designed to meet the standards, and I've been teaching them for a while, and the students like it. You know, they give very good feedback, and I feel the time I put into build my course is very well spent. Now the dean comes to me and asks me to connect my courses to the program, because we are going to offer this entire, you know, 24 courses as an online program. So how do I do that? So if you look at the program, you know, courses are the foundation, but they are not the only thing anymore, right? We mentioned in the institutional level, you need to have teaching support, you need to have learner support. So these are the things, these are the two that's very easily understood. Now, program design, you know, how do you think about program design in relating to course design? So typically in the online program, an online accounting, for example, right? Or online MBA programs. And typically there's more than one instructor or faculty teaching all of those courses, right? Because they are combined different. So faculty teach individual courses, but then the entire online program has the program level competencies, or some you call it the program outcome. They're probably 6 or 8, you know, or 10 general program competencies. You tell the students that, or you tell the parents even, saying after you know, complete this online accounting, you will be able to do those. So individual courses, how do you connect to the program level competencies? That is what's called a program design. So you need to have a program mapping, okay? And each of the competencies at the program level need to be implemented and get evidence from individual courses that students are achieving those competencies in various courses. So that is a program design. So I will go to each very quickly, but I want to go to the last one, the student success. So the first is program design. You design all your courses, and then you mapping the course learning outcomes to support the program competencies. And then you provide support for the instructors before, during, and after teaching. And then you provide all the students support online or like remotely, right? So all of this, what you're doing, what your institution is doing, is to invest in the online program. You are putting money, resource, staff time, into the program. So that's input. So what is the output? What is the desired outcome that you want? You want student to be succeed, to be able to complete the program successfully, as well as their face-to-face program. So that is called student success. You need to be comparable. And we actually have institutions in the US, some online programs, students actually succeed more than the face-to-face online program. So for each of these parts, I call it part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4, because you need to consider all of them, right? So part 1 is the program design, and when your program is ready for QM to review and for certification, these are the things that we will be looking for. For example, at the very beginning, you know, at the course level, are your learning objectives measurable? You say the students are going to be able to do this, but how are you measuring them, right? And then, of course, you need to, the individual learning outcome needs to be well aligned with the program and competencies to support. Because of the time, I'm not going to detail, but these are the specific things that under program design, the criteria to ensure that the program design is sound. And then online teaching. And that's pretty straightforward. We just need to be able to prepare faculty to teach online and to be able to support a faculty during the time they're teaching, and afterwards we need to be able to, you know, support them, you know, if they have students feedback and where they want to be able to improve in their courses and how to improve, etc., etc. The third one is the student support services. And these are just some of the examples that typically a US institution needs to have those services available. And it probably would apply, most of those services should apply internationally, no matter what country, what type of institution you are, other than perhaps the financial aid, you know, that's pretty special to US and certain countries. In this one, the second item is actually very important. You know, you put all those investment into your program, into supporting students, but are students happy? Are they able to do what they need to do? And when they need support, can they get it? So you need to survey students year in and year out and use those feedback to continuously improve your services for students. So the last one I mentioned is the learner support. I mean, the student success. So how do you define your student's success? That will be up to the institution. Each institution's mission is different. The nature, the type of institution is different. What do you consider is student's success? And in the US, it's typically at the course level, they would say, well, if my students would achieve ABC, you know, I consider that as success. At the program level, they will say, you know, completion rate or graduation rate. At the institutional level, you know, they would say, well, you know, that's what percentage of our students, you know, get a nice job after graduation, et cetera, et cetera. So there's a lot of matrix to be considered when you want to define student success. Again, this is where I would typically stop and for a little group discussion. So the question is, again, you know, in those 4 parts of quality assurance for online program, what area is the most challenging, and what kind of data you are not collecting but need to collect or is hard to collect, and why, etc. So because of the time, I'm going to move forward. So at the course level, so I know a lot of you here today are faculty, so this part is probably would be of most interest to you. So as I mentioned earlier, QM is research-based, research supported. We have 5 sets of quality standards, and although we start in higher education, but now we have K-12, publisher, and a continuing professional education. For example, the higher education rubric, we have 8 sets of standards. Okay, and these are called the general standards. So under each category, we have specific standards. And if you just look at the title of the general standards, it all make common sense. It does not only apply to online education at all, okay? Because in the online environment, you need to introduce the course to students so students know when to do what, right? And then you need to have learning outcomes, learning objectives. Once you have those, you need to know how to assess them, right? And then everything else in between is really to support the students to achieve the learning outcomes, the technology, the learner support. In the US, because of this is the federal law, if you offer online programs, they need to be accessible, meaning students who have special needs, they cannot hear, they cannot see, they should still be able to take your online course. But okay, okay. So this graphic is hopefully easy to understand the principle of alignment. Meaning in the course, you have lots of content, you're using a lot of tools, you have lots of learning activities, you have assessment. You put all of this into the course, but...
Hi.
Hello?
Hello.
Okay, do I need to stop?
No, just I would like to ask you that if you can start wrapping it up.
Yes.
And so that we can, we need to go another 1 minute or 2, kindly.
Okay, sure.
Because, okay, good. Thank you. I'm with you.
Okay, sure. So, so I will quickly go through each of these. So from the learning outcome to how you assess, everything else in between is to support that goal from A to B, right? So this is called the principle of alignment. And then there are 42 standards, and they are really independent of what kind of technology you use. Technology should be the background. Pedagogy, content, engagement should be the key, as a lot of the presentation in the past have covered those. So here's one example of one standard and the annotation. What does that standard mean? How do you meet that standard? And I mentioned the course review process. How do you market your online courses program to the community, to parents, to stakeholders? How do you differentiate your programs from other programs? So if you go through a course review process and then be QM certified, then your course get a quality certification mark. And it's all peer-based. QM staff do not do QM review. It's the community, it's faculty like you who have been specifically QM trained, become peer review. They will review institutions' courses. And these are the marks for certify a course that met QM standards. So again, a third exercise we're going to skip, and I just want to remind you again of the large QM community. We're in 19 countries now, and we learn from each other, we support from each other, we support each other. And I mentioned earlier that the QM is adaptable, meaning it depends on what your goals are, and we help you building up, and from the course level to program level to institutional level. And I just want to share a few words about how our international communities are using QM, implementing QM. So this is a quick screenshot of the version that has been adopted by one institutions in Saudi Arabia on the right side. And that's a version that we actually have a official Chinese version of the QM standards, and that has won the USDRL Globe Impact Award in 2017. So we are very happy, excited about that. We also have a Spanish version for Latin American region. And really, the last minute I want to spend is I want to share, based on the past 5 years or so, I have been working with different international communities and different culture, different background, different infrastructure, and different pedagogy. So we have actually done some research, and here are the core standards. It doesn't matter where you are, what language you speak, what culture you are from. These are the most essential, important standards for course design. And so the check mark indicating that these 5 different, very different international background community, they all agree that these are the most important standards to be used to help them design their online courses. And if any of you are interested, contact me and I will be happy to share.
Definitely.
Yeah, so the question I leave you here is, what can you do? You do not have to start from scratch. You do not have to start from the beginning. A lot of the research have been done for you. We have over 2 decades experience, US based. Take it, adapt it, and use to help your institution, your program for your teaching and the learning. And I want to leave a few picture to share how QM has been involved in the international community. This is in China, Saudi Arabia, in Latin American. We were in Vietnam for their first online conference last year. This is in Sri Lanka at INQUAHI, the International Network of Quality Assurance Agencies for Higher Education. And before we can meet in person, we are all here together. And yes, I would love to be coming to Pakistan, where
yes, once this thing gets down, we're going to be hosting you. Don't worry about it. Yes. We're going to have you here.
Yeah, so now we're all together. We're still learning together. We're supporting each other because we are together and we are strong. So
thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
And I just to, if you can stop sharing and just, yes. I would like to make it a point here that what Dr. Yaping Gao has basically told us is that you need to adapt, you need to adopt, and you need to apply. That doesn't mean that our education is going to change, the systems are going to change, but there are going to be new normals, maybe for a little while, and we need not to stop learning from there and also communicating and socializing. I mean, though we are on digital and it's virtual, but hey, at least you can see each other, talk to each other. There's an expression exchange that is going on. And that is what I think at the end of the day is the message, is that online is the future, but let's not forget about that as the communities and things grow, that we need to look at things, adapt to them, apply them, and use each other's expertise to move forward instead of everyone trying to start from scratch. And like Quality Matters has that experience, so why not use that and not having to reinvent the wheel every time. And that's, I think, the core message comes down to, is that they have the experience, they have the knowledge base. So we should use that. And all the people and panelists who are here, that if they want to, they can get in touch with us or get in touch directly with Dr. Gao and Quality Matters, and we can move forward from there. Thank you very much, Dr. Yaping Gao. I am really thankful that you gave us this time.